Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something quite foundational, a specific teaching about the kingdom of heaven. Our source material is from a daily devotional, Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris. And it's one of those teachings that, well, it really reframes how you're meant to view the world around you, not just historically, but like right now. Our mission today, we're diving deep into the parable of the wheat and tares, Matthew 13. We're looking at a pretty intense devotional analysis of it. It gives these really clear identities to the key elements, the king, the field, the seed. And doing that kind of reveals a blueprint for understanding why good and evil seem to, well, coexist right now.
Yeah, and that analysis is key because it pushes us, beyond maybe a simpler Sunday school understanding. It treats the parable as the master's direct explanation of reality, our current reality.
Hmm.
We're going to unpack this pretty radical claim of ownership that's actually embedded right in the first sentence.
Okay, let's start there then. The verse that kicks it all off, Matthew 13, verse 24. It says, "The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field." Simple enough start.
Right. So mapping the identities. The first couple are fairly straightforward based on the text and the analysis. The man who sowed the good seed. That's the Lord himself. He's the sower, the king figure here.
Okay, the Lord is the sower, makes sense.
Okay.
And the seed, he's scattering. The good seed.
That represents the children of the kingdom.
Okay, so that immediately defines the listener, right? If you're part of the kingdom, you are this good seed in the story. That's quite personal.
Exactly. You are the good seed. It places you right in the narrative.
But this is where I think the interpretation gets really interesting. Moves from maybe obvious to revolutionary. We've got the sower, the seed, but then there's the field. Now, if you were hearing this back then, you might naturally think, okay, the field,
Yep.
that's got to be the church, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe the community of believers.
That's the logical assumption. But it's precisely what the master clarifies later when he explains the parable. He says point blank, the field is the world.
The world.
Yes,
Yeah.
the entire world. And that's the first huge insight from this analysis, because that definition just instantly changes everything. The stakes are different.
Right, because it's not just geography then, it's about jurisdiction. Like his claim over it. When the Lord sowed the good seed, the text says he sowed it in his field.
That's it. That's the key implication. The analysis hammers home. The field itself belongs to Jesus. The theological weight of that is massive. The king basically claimed the whole globe by planting his seed there first.
Wow. Okay, so if the field is the world and he planted a seed in it, it's like staking a claim, a permanent one. So even if the world looks, messy or hostile or spiritually dark, the underlying reality, according to this, is that the field belongs to the king. The kingdom isn't just like inside church walls, it's global.
Mm-hmm. It shifts the whole dynamic for the good seed for you. You're not some visitor or a refugee in the world. You're a resident operating on the king's property, even if that property is, let's say, temporarily contested or compromised.
Okay, that sounds powerful, like a declaration of victory almost. But we all know reality feels different a lot of the time. Which brings us to the complication in the story, right? The disruption. While men slept, the enemy creeps in and sows tares, that useless weed that looks like wheat when it's young. Right there among the good stuff.
Exactly. And this is the explanation for the tension we feel, the tension we see everywhere. You got the children of the kingdom, the wheat, and then you've got the tares. The analysis identifies the tares as the children of the wicked one.
Okay, explicit.
Very. And the enemy who sowed them, also clearly identified, the devil. But that timing is interesting, isn't it? While men slept.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. The sleeping men part, it suggests the problem wasn't God's fault, but maybe human inaction.
That's absolutely how the analysis reads it. Sleeping isn't just literal shut-eye. It's seen as a metaphor. Spiritual carelessness, maybe. Intellectual laziness. Letting your guard down. The enemy finds his opportunity, gains ground, when the people who should be watchful of the servants, the good seed, are passive. So the enemy's work often happens because, well, someone left the door open through indifference.
So now you have the king's children and the devil's children, essentially, planted and growing right next to each other in the same field, the world. And that's the difficult, visible tension this study is tackling. Why good and evil are operating side by side, sometimes uncomfortably close, even in places we associate with God's work.
Mm-hmm. And the servants in the parable, they see this. They see the tares popping up, contaminating the field, and their first reaction is totally understandable. They ask the master, should we go and pull them up now?
Mm-hmm.
That very human urge to fix it, to clean house, make things pure and orderly right away.
But the master's answer, wow, It's the core instruction for how to live in this tension, isn't it? And maybe the hardest part to swallow. He says, let both grow together until the harvest.
Let them grow together. That prompts the question, why wait? Why not rip out the weeds immediately? And the master gives a really practical reason, tied to how these plants actually grow. As the analysis notes, wheat and tares look almost identical when they're young.
Right.
And crucially, their root systems get tangled up together underground.
Ah, so if you try to yank out the tares too early.
You risk tearing up the good wheat along with them. You damage the crop you're trying to save.
Okay.
Exactly. So Master's command, don't uproot them yet, isn't about modern tolerance for evil. It's about protecting the wheat. Premature judgment or attempts by the servants to force a separation. It would cause collateral damage to the children of the kingdom. The good seed needs protecting from, well, the sometimes well-meaning but ultimately destructive zeal of those who can't yet tell the difference perfectly. So patience becomes the divine strategy for this current age. Wait for maturity.
Okay, so that instruction, let both grow together, it implies this messy coexistence isn't forever. It has an end date, the harvest. So looking at the big picture, the timeline, what does the analysis say the harvest is?
The harvest is the definitive end. It marks the close of this age, the end of the world as we know it. It's the moment when that final decisive separation happens.
And importantly, when that time comes, the king doesn't ask the human servants, the ones who couldn't tell the roots apart earlier, to do the separating. He brings in specialists.
Right, the reapers.
Yeah.
And the text identifies them as the angels. The significance isn't just who they are, but the implication. They operate with perfect divine clarity, impartial judgment. They have the authority and the ability to execute the separation flawlessly, something the human servants were specifically told not to attempt.
Which leads us to the final outcome, the two distinct results of this harvest process described in the parable.
Yes, a very clear two-step process. First, the focus is actually on the tares. They're gathered first, tied into bundles, and then burned. It signifies complete removal, final judgment, the end of the opposition.
Okay, deal with the negative first, and then...
And then, after the field is effectively cleansed, comes the positive action for the good seed. The wheat, identified as the righteous, are gathered safely into his barn, into the master's presence. The order matters. It's definitive. And it reverses the current experience, right? Now, the wheat might feel choked by tares, but the final act is the secure, triumphant gathering of the righteous.
Ah, I see.
And that's why the analysis calls this conclusion comforting for the children of the kingdom. Yes, the field is polluted now, but that's temporary. The ultimate safety and security of the good seed, that's guaranteed by the king himself. And dealing with the tares first means the wheat are brought into their reward without any further risk. No more contamination, no mistakes.
Okay, so wrapping this part up. We, the listeners who are in the kingdom, are the good seed. We know the world is fundamentally the king's field, even if contested. And our job right now is this difficult waiting game coexist without trying to rip out the weeds ourselves, without judging prematurely. But what does that mean for how we actually live day to day? It can't just be about survival, right? Passively waiting. If we're supposed to thrive in the king's field, what's the active part?
Absolutely not passive.
Right.
The analysis really pivots here, talking about what it calls the royal mandate. Because the good seed are identified as the Lord's children, his heirs. They're actually encouraged to adopt a mindset of authority. This goes way beyond just being saved. It steps into the realm of being like rulers in training, representing the king.
Okay, tell me more about these bold declarations the source material encourages. Like, we own the world, and being in charge and in control. I mean, let's be honest, that sounds completely counter to how things often feel looking at the news or just daily struggles.
It does sound jarring, I know. But the ownership part isn't about, earthly power or accumulating stuff. It's about spiritual authority. It stems from who the real owner is, the king. If the field truly belongs to him, then his children, his representatives, operate with the understanding of that ultimate jurisdiction. You're acting on behalf of the king in his territory, even while it's contested.
Yeah, that's a huge mental shift. But how does that translate? What does reign as a king actually look like when you're, commuting to work, dealing with family stuff, paying the bills? How do you demonstrate that kind of authority when the tares feel so overwhelming sometimes?
It looks like intentional righteous engagement, not fearful withdrawal or just blending in. The difference between just passively existing as wheat and actively reigning as a king. It's the difference between just letting things happen to you and actively influencing your environment for the kingdom. The mandate, as the analysis lays it out, seems to break down into about 4 active roles or commands.
Okay, like what? What's the first one?
First, shine as a light. This feels foundational, doesn't it?
Yeah, be distinct.
Right. It's about the manifestation of your character. Light doesn't really try to shine. It just
Yeah.
is. And by being what it is, it exposes darkness.
Mhm.
So when the wheat lives righteously, maintains integrity, even when it's hard or unpopular, that is light. It reveals the contrast with the tares.
Okay, shine as a light. And
Yeah.
second,
Bear fruits of righteousness.
is this?
This is the tangible evidence, the proof that the seed is genuinely good.
Mm.
Remember, the tares look like wheat, but they don't produce good grain. They're useless at harvest. For the good seed, bearing fruit means actively living out kingdom values. Justice, mercy, faithfulness, love. Letting those things actually shape your actions and influence your corner of the world, however big or small that is. It's the output of your identity.
Got it. Shine, bear fruit. Then you mentioned the more maybe challenging ones. Reign as a king and bring in the harvest. How are those distinct?
Well, reigning as a king seems to be about the daily posture, the application of that authority we talked about. It means refusing to let the negativity, the chaos, the terrorness of the environment dictate your response, your attitude, your spiritual state. It's about exercising faith, speaking truth, managing your own domain, your thoughts, actions, resources according to kingdom principles. Basically, you're not a victim of the tares. You're purposefully coexisting while actively working to extend the king's influence right where you are. You're in charge of your response.
Oh, okay. Taking responsibility for your own kingdom space. And finally, bring in the harvest. That sounds like a massive task for individuals. Isn't that the angel's job?
Good question. It is the angel's job to do the final separation. But the analysis suggests we participate in the harvest in a different way. Bringing in the harvest for the good seed seems to be the ultimate purpose of being planted in the world in the first place. We do it not by judging or trying to segregate, that's forbidden, remember, but by living as that light-shining, fruit-bearing, reigning representative. Our active, lived-out righteousness, our faithfulness, our mission, that naturally attracts others. It influences people towards the king. So the wheat doesn't just wait passively to be collected. Its very life and function is meant to, in a sense, reproduce and expand the king's presence and influence, preparing for that final ingathering. Hashtag outro. Wow. Okay, that is quite a deep dive. It really unpacks the parable beyond just a simple story. It forces you, the listener, to really grapple with your identity, the nature of the world, and this very challenging command to coexist productively. Exactly. The synthesis is realizing that your identity as good seed is the source of your authority and purpose, regardless of what the field looks like right now. The world is the field. It does belong to the king ultimately, and the tension you feel, well, that's just the normal state of affairs for now, until the guaranteed end. Knowing that duty should empower the good seed, empower you to endure this period without becoming either totally passive or, conversely, destructively zealous.
Right. So if the field is already his and our identity calls us to reign, not just endure, maybe here's a final thought for everyone to chew on, building on that royal mandate idea. If you're truly called to reign as a king right now, in your current circumstances, what's one specific actionable thing you could change or start doing tomorrow? Something that moves you from just existing as wheat to actively demonstrating your king's authority and expanding his influence in your personal patch of the field.
For more information on how you can grow spiritually using Rhapsody of Realities, please visit our website, www.rhapsodyofrealities.org. Or you can also visit rin.rhapsodyofrealities.org/salvation. Thank you.